The Chicago Bears just got yet another reason to make a huge draft trade. What's up? This is Sean at Sports Talk Bears. We are building very quickly a very positive and fun community here. If you want to join us, just hit the subscribe button. We'd love to have you. So we've been given tons of stuff to process, right? But there's something that's become obvious during the NFL Combine, and it further illustrates we shouldn't be trading QB1. We need to realize we're looking at the deepest wide receiver class of possibly all time, and it's possibly at the very least the best in decades. And it's yet another reason why the Bears should keep Fields and trade down from the number one overall. A minute and I'll tell you why, but let's do just a little bit of a review as if we need it at this point. But as expected, the Bears, they're a focal point of the news cycle, and GM Ryan Poles, he holds the key to the draft for the second year in a row, right? Poles and head coach Matt Eberflus, they were both asked about the plan for Justin Fields and the number one overall pick. And another big surprise, there weren't any progress updates, so to speak. So both guys made it clear, though, that trading Justin Fields is still a definite possibility, even suggesting a timeline before free agency to do right by him. Still not a definite timeline either. Also, no clarity on actually using the number one as it stands either. But even though it's plausible, the question of whether or not it should happen, that still remains. And it's tiresome at this point, but I'm still going to say this. Fields has shown improvement over the last 2 years, especially after the Bears got him some actual weapons this last year. I mean, a legit number one receiver and more. Komet is a very good tight end, but to be fair, it really hasn't been enough improvement, though, to officially label him as the guy. It's not obvious. And even though I'm fully in the keep Justin court, I'd be a fool if I didn't see the argument against it. But to me, the Chicago Bears, they just experienced something that's going to make this decision way harder, and that's a wide receiver group showing during this combine that it might be the best in at least a decade. So let's get to it. So we could be looking at the deepest receiver class of all time, the deepest wide receiver class in decades, but let's go further. So obviously, everyone wants to share an opinion at QB, but friends, we have some holes to fill. Edge, wide receiver 2, interior offensive line, running back, tight end, and one could even make an argument for left tackle. It's not about who is better. It's not about the debate between who's better between Caleb and Justin. To keep having it is kind of dumb. The smart thought, that's that we need a huge draft capital to build this right, and that supersedes who's better. It's what's most intelligent to do. And we're so glad to see that corner's not a need in this draft. Jalen Johnson, he isn't going anywhere, but we still need a safety too. Edge at 1, it just isn't an option, and any sane person knows that. We're not going to draft an edge at number 1. We could say left tackle is a priority in the first round, and I'd like to see that too, but everyone, including myself, would love to see us maneuver and get MHJ at number 1. I mean, how's that not a win? Trade back to 2, trade back to 3, still get MHJ. I know the drill. But if we see what Poles did last year and what could be a bounty of several first rounders and more for this number 1, the only way we get that is to trade back a little further, like to the Giants at 6, the Falcons at 8, man, even to the Broncos at 12, the Vikings at 11. They might be hungry for a quarterback. And further back, the further back, that's as far as I'd like to go. The further back, the more we get, right? And I know we all feel like passing on MHJ, that it's nuts, right? But going back a little further enables us to get that multiple first pick bounty. It's a while till the draft, so let's just explore it. Let's not freak out. Let's just explore it. I want to talk it through. So after Saturday, it's clear the Bears can trade back and still find a very dynamic player that can help Fields continue development and take pressure off DJ Moore. I mean, Rome Odunze, plus a haul, plus still being able to use our number 9, it's worth considering. Wide receiver has a ton of pivots, and I'll talk about specific ones besides the obvious in tomorrow's story. So there seems to be incredible wide receivers at every single turn in this draft. Matt Miller from ESPN, he had this to say, and I also want to give credit to this story on A to Z Sports. It's just fantastic. That's kind of detailing a lot of what I'm talking about. So let's hear what Matt Miller had to say. A record-setting performance and exceptional on-field work from multiple wide receivers drove home the point that this is one of the most talented and deepest classes for the position in some time. The strength of the 2024 draft is a wide receiver class, and that was evident on Saturday night. 9 wideouts timed under 4.4 seconds in the 40. That's the most since at least 2003, according to ESPN stats and information. And I think we could see a record 8 wide receivers drafted in the first round, besting the 7 who went on day 1 in 2004. And that's from Matt Miller. So I think it's obvious there'll be plenty of options, even at number 9, so we can get a little creative with this trade and listen to offers from any team in the top 12 picks. I think we should listen. I mean, even Brock Bowers, man, he even makes sense. Shane Waldron, he loves multiple tight end packages, and imagine pairing him up with Cole Kmet, who, as we know, is a more traditional inline tight end. I mean, the diversity in those packages would be pretty fantastic. So let me get rid of this story and continue. Check out that story on A to Z Sports, so it's great. The same goes with all the other positions of need. We don't have to just fixate on MHJ. There's another way. So some other things to consider. It's possible the Fields trade market, it might not be a stout one right now, or even a semi-stout one right now. The Athletics, Diana Rossini, she recently walked through why that might be. Obviously, teams are aware he could be traded, right? Meanwhile, why pay a premium on something now that's likely to be shipped off anyway? Are teams willing to wait this out to drive down the price? Poles, you guys know him, he won't force the issue, but he did say he'd like to get something done before free agency. So if you're another team, why not wait as long as possible in order to cause as much strain as possible? Outside of getting Fields in ASAP to accommodate him to his new surroundings, there's really no reason to rush things. Though I expect the demand for Fields to be robust, this is from Diana Rossini, though I expect the demand for Fields to be robust, knowing teams like the Raiders, the Broncos, the Steelers, the Falcons, all in search of a quarterback, it appears his market is soft for now. It was hard to find strong interest from any team. One NFC general manager explained the problem with the current timing. When people know you're getting rid of something, they don't pay as much for it. We could be looking at the possibility of teams not wanting to ante anything up. And as Poles said, doing right by Fields, it can't take precedence over doing right for the Bears. Anything below a first rounder is a travesty, in my opinion. Every day that goes by lowers his trade value, and we shouldn't play the game that other teams may be trying to do. Sure, we could get multiple picks for Fields, but the huge bounty and a potential trade back would dwarf what's received for Fields. In a vacuum, the highest net return overall is to keep a valuable Fields plus get the picks for the number 1. Let's look at the example from last year. Poles had Carolina pay up with 2 firsts and 2 seconds in order to trade up from the number 9 to number 1, plus DJ Moore, who was worth at least a second rounder at the time of the trade. A Fields trade, that wouldn't even come close to sniffing that kind of haul. Take the haul. And still, we're not going to sell Fields for 50 cents on a dollar. If that's the market right now, we might need to move on and shift strategy. And I'm sure Poles already has a plan. So what do we have going for us? Better infrastructure. That should lead to better production from Fields. We got a great offensive mind in Coach Waldron, more weapons, more protection. All this is possible. Combining a draft haul with our free agent money, right? We can build a beast that's not only setting the future up, but building in the present without any danger of salary cap hell in the future. We saw what the Bears did with the Panthers draft picks last year in the NFL draft from last year's trade. Running that back, that would only give Fields more weapons, more protection, which can only help. I'm going to leave you with a quote from Coach Flus. If Justin's a quarterback or a new quarterback's in there, there's a lot of things there around him. Bears head coach Matt Eberflus told reporters this at the Combine, and that's what's cool. We get to add some more pieces in free agency coming up in the short term too. Him and Poles, they have this now and later approach to what they're doing. They can't let other teams dictate the market for Fields. It's like we're not going to sell him for 50 cents on a dollar. The net gain is still moving this number 1 pick, doing something to make sure that I think the most valuable that Fields is on our team. We can also get a bounty too. And there are so many free agent receivers. There are so many particularly quality receivers in this draft. It's the best in so many years. It's not all about MHJ. Let's chop it up. Let's talk about it. Let's think about it. Let's chill a little bit and enjoy this community that we've been blessed with. And I'll talk to you guys soon. See ya.